Hello, everyone. My name is Billy. I'm doing this video presentation as part of the requirement for our first paper in SED800 for Dr. Avani. I was looking at the notes that he had put in the directions, and it was urging us to try something different for the presentation of our project. And I tried something different, which I will show you in a second. I even corresponded with him, and he liked that idea. But then I kind of realized that looking at the rubric, I was going to get myself into trouble because I didn't quite know how to handle a couple of the bullet points. So I actually wrote the paper. But I thought that I would take this moment to do a video and present the overview of the paper in this presentation. So my topic was on hormones during puberty. And I thought that was just very interesting because the book was kind of bringing to light, all those acronyms like the LH and RNHT and whatever those hormones were, and it didn't quite explain what each one of the other ones did. And I just got curious about how many there were coming from the hypothalamus and what the hypothalamus and the pituitary did when they were talking to each other. And doctors don't even know how the timing of all that happens, right when girls can be 6 years old when they first start puberty. Oh my God. Generally, somewhere around 8 to 14 years old, there's a wider range for girls, and they finish puberty before boys. Boys often start a little later, but they can start as early as 8. I remember, I'll never forget this one kid in my 8th grade class. We had gone for summer break, and now it was 8th grade, middle school. I had my mother as a teacher. Oh my God, I don't recommend that. And Ken Ward came into 8th grade and he had a full beard. Oh, whoa, who is that guy? I don't remember whether the school asked him to shave it off or anything, but there is a range. It's not like it's clockwork for everybody. There's a range, and it can end as early as 12 years old for girls and as late as 16 for girls. They're usually first, and it starts when boys are 10 and goes to when they're 14, and they usually end a little later. So I was interested in that. I was just curious of that. And so what I thought I would do is kind of share my screen with you and walk you through just what my paper looks like. And so I started out with just a quote. In adolescence, who you are is just one possibility of who you can be. And that's from our textbook, the Lawrence Steenberg. At the apex of the afternoon, the rage seems to have subsided a bit. And so I'm not going to read the paper to you, but here's all those hormones. And then I kind of wanted to do this thing. And when I was talking to Dr. Avani through email, I just thought it would be interesting because all the students in our class were talking about rage and vulnerability and just the crazy influx of what these hormones do to you. And so I wanted to do like this animated thing, which I'll show you in a minute. But then when I stopped and I said, well, I should just write a regular paper, it occurred to me that in our reading, in the orientation for a state, and in a couple other different places, especially over the years, I've always known that in middle school, grades 6, 7, and 8, the boys and girls, the students, the adolescents, the pre-adolescents just give up on drawing. And there's a couple of reasons for this. There's a political reason. The Reagan administration defunded the arts program in 1985. And we will never get that money back. It would be impossible for the government to redo all the money that was lost because Republican Reagan pulled out all the money. It affected some schools in terms of sports even, but mostly art programs were defunded, theater programs, music programs are all defunded across the country in 1985. And that was one reason kind of why arts was diminished in public schools across the country. And another reason was just that kids are more interested at that age in hanging out with each other and playing sports and being cool. And there's a natural affinity between them to try to give up on art anyway. And so I wanted to put that back in there. I thought that as an art teacher and teaching art and animation for 20 some odd years, that I've always known that if my students would have kept drawing in middle school and had some kind of animation introduction in high school, they're so much further down the road. And so I talk about the hormonal crush, I talk about puberty, and then I'm weaving in the idea of drawing, especially when it's a safe place. And the idea of drawing can be with all topics. You can have drawing in history, you can have drawing in math, you can have drawing in social sciences, you can have drawing in health. And health books are filled with drawings. Scientific textbooks are filled with drawings. I think that it helps the eye-hand coordination. It helps the muscle memory in the hands. Your hands have memory. So in this paragraph, I'm talking about the coming of age is hard, and teaching pubescent students is hard in itself. And I think that they're confused. There's a line in the book where it says that there is a hormonal rage. Pubescents feel like they don't have control over their bodies, but it is a misnomer that they're moody. I think what the textbook was saying was that the brains grow during puberty, and the socialization grows. And there's a great quote in my paper here, just that students get really good at arguing with their parents, and that can be confused on the parents' part of, oh, he's just moody, or she's going through a phase, that kind of deal. But it's at that exact point when they're confused. Gender identities start to form. Students at that age realize that they may be gay or bisexual, or they're just confused. And so not only am I talking about the pubescent and all the hormonal rage that goes, but I'm talking about safe spaces. And I spend a couple of pages just talking about what teachers can do to influence the drawing component of whatever class they have as a safe space. All right, and then I talk about utilizing of the function of abstract thought and the cognition, and how the teachers can actually use it in a metacognitive way, or just as a way for them to get away for a moment, either in a couch with pillows, or an extra space in the room that's quiet. And then I end just on saying that, reiterating the idea that puberty is confusing both chemically and emotionally and mentally, but it should not be a place where teachers routinely give up on drawing and that eye-hand coordination. And so that was my paper. I'm going to deliver my paper. But then the next thing I wanted to talk about was just what I was going to do. And so the thing that I was going to do was animate a boy and a girl, maybe 8 years old, and they're animated, they come on the stage, and then all this stuff happens. So let me show you what that looks like. And I didn't animate it, but I put together just kind of like a little animatic. And this was the storyboard that I presented to Dr. Avani. And I started out with just a title card, Hormones in Adolescence. And then I talk about the gonadotropin release hormone, the GnRH, coming from the hypothalamus, interacting with the pituitary, and then the pituitary has its thing to do with it, and it sends out its hormones, and boys start to develop and girls start to develop. They become young men and young women. The pituitary sends out all these other hormones themselves, the follicle stimulating hormone, oxytocin, luteinizing hormone, and this is going to all be animated. I would have had time, except I didn't know how to work in the peer review thing that we were talking about, or how to work in the teacher, what teachers could do in the classroom element. So this is the pituitary, and then the pituitary becomes the nose of a young girl, and then she zooms out to reveal that there's a boy standing there. Then all this magic happens. And this magic here is something that I'm good at. I'm an effects animator. And so what I imagined was kind of something like the Peter Pan tapping on Tinkerbell's butt, this kind of effects right there. And we were actually doing effects this morning in my effects class, and it looks something like this. You know, just that kind of that deal of particles, pixie dust effects. And that was going to happen to the boy and the girl. And then they were going to explode with hormonal rage in a 2D kind of animated way to reveal that they're now adults. And that was, Dr. Vani liked that idea. But again, I just found it difficult to try to work in how the teachers were going to use whatever information about drawing in the classroom in that video. And so I abandoned that idea, but I thought I would present it to you anyway, just because it was there. And then I could do this video and encapsulate what I originally wanted to do with the paper that I actually read. So I'll try to keep this short. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you online back in class. Thanks, and have a good day.